Hello folks, we have started playing Rime of the Frostmaiden and it is really cool. So I thought I would get inspired by Puffin Forest's videos. I will put a link to his amazing playlist of Curse of Strahd replay in the doobly-doo and Matt Colville's campaign diaries and record the story of whatever's happening in our campaign for your listening pleasure. To begin with, let's introduce the party. We have Vastdenai Savrus, who is a tiefling death domain cleric, played by my friend Julie. We also have Dawn Kira, who is some kind of a Fey Wanderer Ranger or something like that. I'm not sure what his class is or subclass is, but that is played by my friend Ryan. And I think that character is somehow inspired by Don Quixote or Quixote. I forgot how to say his name. We also have our friend Melissa. Her character is Raven. She is a half-elf paladin. I don't know her subclass because we have not yet reached 3rd level and we don't know what kind of an oath she's gonna take. Also, along with this, we have our friend Michael, who plays Aegric, a Firbolg druid. And last but not the least, we have yours truly, whose character is Val, a human Twilight Domain cleric who worships the moon goddess Selune. I guess I should declare at this point that there will definitely be spoilers for Icewind Rime of the Frostmaiden in this video, so if you are a player or are planning to play it in the near future or even in the far future, I recommend that you skip the rest of this video. If you don't know, Rime of the Frostmaiden starts with something that is called character secret. For instance, my character has 2 secrets. One of them is that I guess one of them can be revealed later on. The other one is that he recently had, 2 or 3 days ago, right before the rest of the party found him, a fight with a red slod. And the red slod has implanted him with a tadpole, but my character doesn't know it. I know it, and I know that we have to find a solution in the next 2 months in game time, or I'm going to turn into a slod. But you know, my character doesn't know, so I'm just ignoring it. And that, by the way, is how the game actually started. I had a fight with the Slod. I lay unconscious, some ways away from a reasonably traveled trade route. The rest of the party were traveling on the trade route to the big place called Bryn Shander, which is, I think, the biggest populated town of the 10 towns. 10 towns are these collection of very remote towns in Icewind Dale. It's just an Arctic tundra landscape. There's never any sun. It's a permanent night and dim light. And in the middle of this cold, icy wilderness, there are just a few bastions of civilization called the 10 towns, which have grown up around this lake district because obvious reason, fresh water. So the rest of the party save Val, my character, from certain death and takes me along with them to Bryn Shander. I actually do not know what is our motivation, why the rest of the party was going to Bryn Shander. Never asked them. I gotta grill them later on. Well, anyway, once we got to Bryn Shander, it was nighttime, so we had to start looking for shelter. And being a cleric, I knew that generally you could find shelter in the local temples. It's not comfortable, it's nothing luxurious, there's not a lot of privacy, but you have a bed, you have a roof. Maybe a warm soup or some mulled wine if you're lucky. So I suggested that we all go to the Temple of the Morning Lord, the Amunator. That is an important distinction here in this campaign, by the way. People in the 10 towns are very adamant about calling the Morning Lord Amunator and not Lathander. They think Lathander is a false god. I don't exactly know what it is, but there's some kind of a tension, religious tension going on there. But before we even get to the Temple of the Morning Lord, we come across these caravan of what looks like traders or like some relatively well-to-do merchants. Well, well-to-do according to Icewind Dale standards, which is not saying much. But they were traveling towards this other town to the east called Caer Dineval. And they had a very swashbucklery, handsome, bardish-looking coachman. He looked at our party as we were passing by, and his eyes kind of rested on our very beautiful paladin, Raven. And they had a little bit of an exchange, very short, very sudden, very abrupt, as if he was trying to hit on her. And then he seemed to cast a spell, which formed ice along his palm into a shape of a rose, which he handed over to Raven. But as soon as Raven took it, it melted away. And then he gave her a sly smile and just rode away. Raven was quite confused, so Val went over to her and told her that, you know, I believe that man wanted to mate with you. Which made Raven feel a little bit more confused and awkward, but she moved on. Following that, we went over to the Temple of the Morning Lord, and we were welcomed by a lady who was an acolyte of the temple. There was, however, also another lady who looked to be slightly better off, had better clothes, but still simple common clothes. And these two ladies seemed to be having a bit of a cold war. From their conversation, what we could figure out was that the high priest of the Temple of the Morning Lord, his name was Father Rainguard, has been selected as a human sacrifice for the town. And now this other well-to-do lady had shown up and is now trying to take over the Temple of the Morning Lord and bring it under the wing of their own religion, which is worshipping of the Frostmaiden, Auril. She's in the name of the book. So I'm guessing that is not a good thing. Obviously, immediately the party took a liking to the acolyte of the Morning Lord. We talked to her and understood that Bryn Shander is not the only town. There are many other places in 10 towns, including Val's hometown, Goodmead, who have resorted to making several sacrifices to the Frostmaiden Auril in order to keep her wrath at bay. Are these sacrifices in use? Who can tell? What we realized is that Bryn Shander has been making human sacrifices. Every month or so, someone is randomly selected and they're taken out of the town to a certain spot, tied to a post, and left there to die. I had really decided to play this character Val as without the 21st century goggles, or at least reducing the 21st century goggles as much as possible. I was trying to play it off as like, oh, Val thinks it's cool. The human sacrifices are the same as any other sacrifices. It's a different town. We don't need to get involved in this. But obviously the rest of the party was horrified and was not going to let this go. The druid Agric specifically took an interest in this and somehow made it his life's mission to save Father Rainguard's life. From the acolyte, we got to know that Father Rainguard will be at a certain bar the next morning, and the whole day will be spent drinking and eating his favorite food, and everyone coming over to say goodbye to him. So, of course, led by Agric, we all went to the aforementioned tavern in the morning. There were a lot of people. In the tavern, we also met what looked like someone with some power, or at least some kind of a clandestine mission, who looked around and was asking the barkeeper about some kind of a serial killer. That piqued my attention because me, the person, loves mystery stories, good cozy murder. So I immediately went over to ask, what is this serial killer business? And it turns out that there has been a serial killer who has been killing people in many different towns of the 10 towns. And all the victims are murdered by what looks like an icicle. The special thing about this icicle, the moment a humanoid touches it, it melts away. This immediately rung bells for all of us, and we realized that we have met someone similar last night. It was Sefik, the handsome coachman of some trading merchant's caravan. However, for whatever reason, our tiefling friend, Vas, tried to convince us that this is definitely not enough evidence to say that Sefik, the coachman, is the murderer, which I would agree with, but I think that is definitely a lead. I don't know why Vas seemed pretty reluctant to follow that lead. Maybe it has something to do with his secrets. Who knows? However, while we are at the tavern, the townspeaker, Duvessa, who is also the head townspeaker of all of 10 towns, shows up to say goodbye to Father Rainguard. It seems from their conversation that we could pretty easily overhear that Duvessa really liked and valued Father Rainguard as a citizen and is willing to actually forego the human sacrifice in order to save Father Rainguard's life. Overhearing their conversation, however, Don Kiro and Val were totally convinced that Father Rainguard does not really want to be saved and has accepted that he is the human sacrifice for Auril this month and he is willing to go through with it. Which immediately meant for Val and Don Kiro that, okay, let it be, who cares? But Agric, no, he had to go in and interfere with this very much. And he decided that he was going to buy special winter clothes and some extra supplies and food for Father Rainguard, rescue him from the sacrificial post and set him free. Well, this confused Val a lot. He wanted to know if Father Raingard was actually Egric's secret father, which kind of is a stupid question because Egric is a gigantic Firbolg and Father Raingard is a human. But, well, Val is not the smartest. It was decided that we cannot just rescue Father Raingard from the middle of the tavern. We have to wait for him to be taken outside town, tied to the post, and once everybody else has left, we can try to go save him. So we still had the whole day to kill, so I and also Raven sort of insisted on following up on the murdering business. We got the information that the murder in Bryn Shander, the latest one, has been near the stables. So we went over towards the stables district, and it turns out the stables are full of just dogs for dog sleds and not actually horses. And there was a very weird stable keeper who could not finish a sentence for the love of life. However, from the half-finished sentence that he spoke, we gathered that he is very angry that apparently some random homeless hobo had slept in his stables a few days ago, and this pissed him off for some reason, which I did not really understand why. I mean, the stables were empty, it's a warm place, why not let somebody sleep there anyway? We started investigating all around the stables and we found a piece of torn cloth, and immediately Val has terrible intelligence, but I have read a lot of murder mysteries, Agatha Christie being my favorite, so I was like, does this piece of torn cloth look like the same cloth from Sephic's vest? And the DM goes, yes, it looks exactly like that. This is proof Sephic's our murderer. Well, I did. Not really, said Vass. Then I came up with my second great idea. I thought, Sephic might actually be a lycanthrope, which is why he came to live in this stable while he was hiding. Everyone stared at me. Say, what's your evidence? I don't have any. Then why are you saying this? I think it's cool. Cool is not evidence. Who cares? Anyway, so after this we started going to find clothes shop so that we could find some winter clothes for Father Raingard. On the way there we met with this old woman beggar who was asking for coin on the side of the street. Agric tried to give her a copper and she seems to also give him back something. It looked like a badge, but we never got a close look, only Agric did, so we don't know what is in that badge. But we also heard her tell Agric that do not go to Caer Dineval and listen to their music. Their music is just terrible. That seems like a pretty pointless random thing to say to a stranger, but I guess that's how 10 towns are. Moving on. The clothes are fucking expensive. They are 5 gold for a set. What? So, yeah, after spending literally half his life savings, Agric bought a set of winter clothes for Father Raingard. And that is where that session ended.